and disease in the responders differs from that in the source population. Okay, so to bring it all home for you, right? So think about it like this. Y'all ready to think before you write? All right, and then we'll write it, okay? So the stronger the association, okay, between exposure and disease, right? So the stronger the association between exposure and disease, and the greater the proportion of non-responders. See what I'm saying here? Okay, so the stronger the association between exposure and disease, okay, and the greater the proportion of non-responders, people who don't respond, okay, the greater the potential bias. Do you see what I'm saying? One more time, I'm going to, maybe even two, okay? So the stronger the association between exposure and disease, all right? So if I say that there's a strong relationship between book and pencil, right? Strong association. Maybe the odds ratio is 60.2%, okay? Well, yeah, 60.25, not even a percentage, but that's what the odds ratio is. Okay, that's extremely large, correct? All right, the stronger that association is, so you're saying that I have this association between X and Y, right? But then I have a large number of people who didn't respond, okay? Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you have a big association, right, large association, as well as a large number of non-responders, okay? Can we trust that that association is valid? Mm-hmm. Why?
Not enough people responded.
Okay, because you had a, say it again?
You had a lot of responders.
And say that first thing you said. Not a lot of people actually responded.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we know that these results can be trusted, can be true, can be valid? Remember that, okay? So here you have a strong association between your X and Y, okay? And a greater proportion of non-responders, the greater the potential bias. You have to keep that in mind. You only got 20% of your population actually responded, and you're reporting that you have, significant association. We have to question, okay, whether or not that association is actually valid. Okay, so one more time, the stronger the association between exposure and disease, and the greater proportion of non-responders, the greater the potential bias. Okay, the stronger the association between exposure and disease, and the greater the proportion of non-responders, the greater the potential bias. Okay, are we clear? All right. And so something that was mentioned in your book, okay, regarding non-response bias, something that you probably will see as you traverse through your public health careers here. All right, so one of the things that we know is that socioeconomic status, or SES, okay, is a factor that appears to influence participation. All right, so we've seen it, it's been documented. Okay, so SES is a factor that appears to influence participation in surveys as well as observational studies. Okay, and what we see, okay, or what we have observed is that participants from higher SES or of higher SES are more likely to participate compared to those of lower SES. Got it? Oh, okay. Okay, so participants from or of higher SES are more likely to participate compared to those of lower or from lower SES. So the take-home message is try to limit the number of non-responders in your study if possible, okay? All right, next. So, okay, so Jillian, go ahead, I'm gonna add some stuff to it.
Restrictive sampling alone, so long as basic criteria are not used between study groups, does not confer selection bias. It merely means that the study results are not generalized to the larger population for external validity.
Okay, so right here, if you have selection bias, okay, to say that selection bias is present means that you're doing something different for the two groups. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so selection bias is present if you're doing something different for the two groups. Okay? Selection bias is present if you're doing something different for the two groups. However, okay, restrictive sampling, you can do that. Remember we were talking about exclusion, inclusion criteria, correct? Okay, those participants with the following characteristics were included into the study. Boom, 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 right? And then on the other side, that's inclusion, right? Okay, participants were excluded if they did not have X, Y, Z. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so here we've restricted the sample in terms of certain characteristics, okay? So we have our inclusion and our exclusion criteria. That is okay, okay? The point is, don't mistake restricted sampling for selection bias, okay? Because you're not doing anything different by saying the following, you must meet the following criteria to be included into the study. Okay, you must be a woman between the ages of 25 and 45, live in the North Nashville area. Another characteristic, at least one live birth, okay? Because maybe that's what you're looking at, okay? Maybe your outcome of interest is related to women's health, okay? Or preconception health or something like that, okay? That is your focus. Participants were excluded if they were male, correct? Women not living in North Nashville, over the age of 50, so on and so forth. You can be that specific. That's not saying that someone has a better chance of moving from the source population to the sample population. This means that for my study, I've restricted it to these criteria, okay? Some people might get that confused, okay? But as a researcher, you do have that ability, okay? All right, to outline that. So let's not get that confused, right? Next. All right, so we said that we can divide, okay, bias into two categories, correct? The first one was selection, and we've gone through a few of those. And the second one is information bias. Now let's go back, may go back one slide, please. Let me give you an example of selection bias, one more example, okay? So another example of selection bias is self-selection bias, okay? Self-selection bias. And a quick example or definition here is individuals who complete study survey may be different from individuals who do not. Okay, so individuals who complete study surveys may be different from those individuals who do not, okay? And that may be based on socioeconomic status, okay? So things like education, social class, whatever that may be, things like that. A well-educated person may have other well-educated friends, you get what I'm saying? And they may talk amongst each other, and they may choose, okay? Okay, they self-select themselves into various studies, okay? Because maybe they have a different approach to healthy living, and maybe they're concerned based upon, family history, so on and so forth. But for various reasons, okay, one may self-select themselves, okay, for themselves into a particular study, okay? But that's just another form of selection bias. Questions? All right, let's go. All right, again, here we start our conversation on information bias, and this is the second category. Now, the reading here starts on page 264, okay, if you're keeping up. All right, Sharita, go ahead and give me that definition. Remember.
Information bias definition, systematic differences in the way in which data on exposure and outcome are obtained from the various study groups. Some types/sources of information bias, bias in abstracting records, bias in interviewing, bias from surrogate interviews, publicity, litigation bias, temporal precedence bias, reporting and recall bias.
All right, very good. So, with all of the different biases, right, they are pretty much self-explanatory, okay? So when you see the name of them,